Howdy, fourth graders. Today we're looking at Unit 4, Lesson 3. In this lesson, we'll be figuring out how we name triangles in order to classify them. On this first slide, I have a couple of examples. You'll notice that I first have what I have shown here in previous lessons of the three different types of angles. So we have right angles, acute angles, and obtuse angles. Remember that right angles are exactly 90 degrees. Acute angles are less than 90 degrees. And obtuse angles are greater than 90 degrees. But remember, less than 180 because 180 degrees would be a straight angle. Now, we use the angles inside of our triangles to name them. So a right triangle is named that because it has one right angle inside of it. An acute triangle has three acute angles and therefore is named an acute triangle. Remember, triangles are named because they have three sides and three angles on the inside. The right angle you would obviously see with a box, or that it's a very clear right angle. The acute triangle had those three acute angles on the inside. And an obtuse triangle has one obtuse angle. And then if you see that obtuse angle on the inside, we name it an obtuse triangle. The main vocabulary in this lesson are those three types of triangles: the right triangle, obtuse triangle, and acute triangle. The prefix, we've been learning all about prefixes, tri means three. So it is easy to remember that a triangle has three angles. Triangles can take their names from the kind of angles they have. So this is reviewing the information I just went over. A right triangle has one right angle, which we show by drawing a small square at the right angle, shown here. An obtuse triangle has one obtuse angle. That would be this one here. It's greater than 90 degrees. And an acute triangle has three acute angles. So here you can see 1, 2, 3 angles that are less than 90. Looking at the bottom of this page, you'll see that I have a right triangle. I know that it's right because it has one right angle here, indicated by the small square here at that right angle. So this would be labeled, usually they do alphabetical order, so we use a little triangle symbol, triangle QRS. Now, we would also label that this is a right triangle because of that right angle on the inside. So for triangles in geometry, we use a mini triangle symbol to indicate that that is indeed a triangle that we're labeling. Now I have some practice slides here to name some triangles based on the angles. So the directions here say name each triangle by its angles, explain your thinking. So for number 4, the first one here, I see that I have three angles that are less than 90. So because they are all acute angles, I would label this as an acute triangle. And I justified that by saying that there are three acute angles. Number 5. This one I see a right angle in the corner, so therefore I know this is a right triangle. Number 6 here, I see an acute angle on top, an acute angle on the left and bottom right. So this would be an acute triangle because there's three acute angles on the inside. Now, number 7 here, I see an obtuse angle and then 2 acute. Because of this obtuse angle, we'll name this an obtuse triangle. Number 8 has the box, which symbolizes the 90 degrees, so that is a right triangle. And then number 9, I don't know why I'm going backwards. Number 9, I see an obtuse angle and then 2 acute. But because of this obtuse angle, this would be called an obtuse triangle. Now, there's another way that triangles can be named. One is by their angles, another one is by their sides. So we have some more vocabulary here. Congruent, remember we've learned that, same size, same shape. Equilateral means equal. Isosceles means two are the same. And scalene means none are the same. Scalene kind of sounds like the word aliens or like different, so all the sides are different. The prefix equal means equal. Triangles that have three congruent sides are called equilateral. Congruent means they're the same size and same shape. So in this case, these marks here tell me that these three sides are equal. So this is an equilateral triangle. Triangles that have two congruent sides are called isosceles. The word isosceles comes from very old words that mean equal legs. So the base is different, but the legs are the same. So these two marks here show me that this slant and this slant are equal, but the bottom is different because it doesn't have a mark. So two sides the same, an isosceles triangle. Finally, triangles with no congruent sides are called scalene. All triangles that are not equilateral or isosceles are scalene. So because these three sides are all different sizes, this is a scalene triangle. So let's start labeling a little bit. I'm going to use some simple labels. So if it's an equilateral triangle, I'm going to use an E to mark it. If it's an isosceles triangle, so two sides the same, I'll label it with an I. And if it's a scalene triangle, I'll label that with an S, all sides different. So let's look at the first example here, triangle ABC. Triangle ABC has three marks showing me that those three sides are the same, so that's an equilateral triangle. DEF has a right angle, but remember I'm not labeling it based on the angles right now, I'm looking at the sides. None of them are the same, so this is a scalene triangle. PQR has the marks indicating that all three sides are equal, so this is another equilateral triangle. Triangle GHI has two marks showing that two of the sides are the same, but the bottom one is different. So two sides the same, that's an isosceles triangle. JKL has the same thing, two marks showing that two sides are the same, but one is different. But those two sides being the same makes this an isosceles triangle. Then finally, the last one doesn't have any markings on the sides, which means, remember the markings mean equality or equal sides, but because there aren't any markings, that means they're all different. So this is another scalene triangle. Now on this slide, I'll practice identifying the sides of a triangle and then naming each triangle by its sides. So I'll explain my thinking as I go. So the first one, number 20 on here, doesn't have any markings. So that means all three sides are different measurements. So this is a scalene triangle. Number 21, again, I don't see any markings. I do see a right angle, so that's a right triangle. However, due to the fact that all of these sides are different measurements means we have another scalene triangle. Number 22 does have markings on two of its sides, but one side is different. So two sides the same, we have an isosceles triangle here. Next, I have another triangle that has two markings on the sides. So that means that those two sides are congruent or the same. So again, two sides the same is an isosceles triangle. Finally, number 24, again, I have two sides that are congruent. The marks show me that those are congruent sides with one being different. So another isosceles triangle. Then the last one we have on this page, number 25, has a marking on each side. So because those three sides are congruent of the triangle, this is an equilateral triangle. All sides are equal or the same. On your ticket today, fourth graders, you'll be labeling some triangles or naming them based on their angles first and then based on their sides. So for numbers 1, 2, and 3, I'd like you to name each of these triangles by its angles. So it'll be either right, acute, or obtuse. For 4, 5, and 6 on your ticket today, I'd like you to name each triangle by its sides. So equilateral, isosceles, or scalene.